Get it mighty now, now they're coming round. In this video, you're going to learn how to get women addicted to your personality. There are two main factors that will make your personality magnetically attractive to women. The first is intensity, and the second is unpredictability. So what do I mean by intensity? Well, if someone talks like this, and they're very low energy, they just seem kind of listless, and they're just, they're there, but they don't really put effort into getting their message across in a way that is engaging and passionate, they're not going to be magnetic. But if someone speaks with a certain amount of passion, they really bring it with the way they're talking, you're instantly 1,000 times more engaged. And if I'm being honest, this is something the vast majority of men are bad at, because what do we learn as men? How do we learn to communicate? We learn to communicate logically. We communicate for the sake of exchanging information. But what do people, and especially women, respond to most? Not logic. They don't care about the information you're giving them. It's the way you make them feel. And that comes down to a few different factors. The rhythm at which you speak, the tonality in your voice, the amount of enthusiasm that you project. All these things will make the difference between being boring and being someone that gets people captivated with what you say. You might be wondering, how do I know if I'm being captivating and I'm bringing intensity in the way I speak? Record yourself talking. Record yourself talking to your friends. It could be talking to a girl. Just record a conversation that you have, a normal conversation. You can record it with your cell phone, very easy to do, and then listen back to it and listen to how you sound. Do you sound passionate? Do you sound engaging? Do you sound excited about what you're saying? Or do you sound monotone and boring? And the reality is, most men sound pretty monotone and boring. And if you find that you lack intensity in the way you speak, you can take 2 minutes per day to record yourself talking with as much passion as possible, like really exaggerate it, and listen back to it, and do that every day just for 2 minutes, and you will find that you will start to naturally speak with more passion and enthusiasm. Now, there's a second part to this, and that is unpredictability versus predictability. What makes you addictive to women is being unpredictable. Most men are predictable when they interact with women because they don't want to offend the girl, they don't want to do anything that she might take the wrong way, so they make sure to be as nice and agreeable as possible. They don't tease the girl, they don't disagree with her, they make her feel totally validated and totally approved of. And this gets the girl's attention. It gets her to be like, oh, he's a nice guy, but it does not get her attracted to you. It actually makes her see you as a very low status guy. And here's the thing, we all learn to be agreeable. We all learn to be nice. That's what social conditioning, and especially schools, does to us. We learn that we have to shut up and listen to the teacher, that we can't talk out of turn, and that if we say anything that's mildly offensive, we'll get punished. And we are taught to shrink our personality so that's all that's left is the most agreeable, boring, basically sheep-like aspects of it. And the parts of us that make us compelling, that make us engaging, are largely trained out of us by society, because that's what allows society to function. But if you want to be compelling to women, you have to learn to take those parts back. Because if you look at little 5-year-old kids, they tease each other, they are completely unfiltered, and they are willing to say whatever comes to their mind, but that slowly gets drained out of them over years of social conditioning. So you might think that you're just a nice guy, you're an introvert, or that's like a part of your personality. No. That is how you've been raised to be. If you were in your natural state, teasing women, saying things that are a little bit controversial, and expressing a wide variety of emotions, those things would all be part of who you are. And if you want to access that part of your personality again, the best way to do that is to use training wheels. This is why pickup techniques can be really helpful, because they can act as training wheels so you can start accessing parts of your personality that you didn't even know existed. So what you can do is to learn to practice the art of hot and cold. Now, what is hot and cold? It's also called push-pull, that's another term for it, but hot and cold is the art of being unpredictable. Let me give you some examples of things that are hot and things that are cold. Things that are hot include holding strong eye contact, complimenting a girl, listening carefully to what she says, standing in close proximity to her, responding quickly to her texts, and if she says something, asking further questions to get to know more about her opinion on that subject. And things that are cold are the opposite. This includes things like teasing her, disqualifying her, which means saying something like, "You're like the sister I never had," which implies you're not sexually attracted to her. Withdrawing attention, paying attention to someone else, taking a few hours to respond to her texts, or simply disagreeing with her. Now, if you do just one of these two sets of things, you're only hot or you're only cold, your personality won't be addictive. If you're only hot, then you're the stereotypical nice guy that's friendly, but sexually unexciting. If you're only cold, well, you're just a dick. You're an asshole and no one wants to be around you. But if you mix hot and cold, it creates this tension in your interactions and it makes everything exciting because the girl doesn't know what's going to happen next. You're unpredictable. She doesn't know whether you're going to compliment her or tease her, whether you're going to agree with her or disagree with her. You're basically keeping her on her toes, and this will keep her completely compelled to everything you say and everything you do. And over time, if you do this with a girl, she will actually become addicted to your personality. Hot and cold, of all the techniques that I can think of all the actual pickup techniques, if you will, is probably the single most powerful, it's the most effective, it absolutely does work. And you might be thinking, isn't that disingenuous? Aren't I being fake? No, because men who are naturally good with women, they do this. They are very good at creating this hot and cold dynamic. I've seen it a number of times with guys who never studied pickup, but they're just good with women. And this is the dynamic that they create in their interactions with women. This is what flirting naturally is if you boil it down to a formula. But the thing is, most men learn that it's not appropriate to act this way, that it's only okay to be hot, and that teasing a girl or saying something controversial or disagreeing, all of those things are unattractive and unappealing and just not okay. So learning to implement hot and cold is basically a crutch that you can use to become comfortable with this side of your personality again, because it was naturally there when you were 5 years old. We just learned to stifle this side of our personality over time. To really understand why hot and cold is so powerful, think about what it implies. What does it say about you? It says that you have options, that you're someone who can afford to speak his mind. He doesn't have to censor himself to gain the approval of others. And that means he's a leader, not a follower. Someone who is always nice, who is always supplicating, well, they come across as low status, like they're an employee speaking to a manager. And that is not the dynamic that women find attractive. But if you show that you are a challenge, that your approval isn't a given, and that you will say what comes to mind even when that's disagreeable, that is very attractive. With that said, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell button.